add front door issues, I'll add it as, how about item 9A at the end?
Sure.
All right, very good. All right, the next section here is thank yous. We want to make sure that we thank, and we're probably not going to get everybody, but we actually wrote out a list in an attempt to get to everybody. And each of us can add, including Erica, anyone wants to add thank yous for people that aren't mentioned or have other things, go ahead. So for fundraising and the Race for Education, we wanted to give a special thanks to Anna Meredith, who arranged the whole event, Tara Dodson, Lancy and Seth Cowan, who actually provided the bounce house for it, Joe Middleton, who provided the smooth sounds that only Joe Middleton can provide as our DJ, Gail Schrader, and all parents who helped with the refreshments during the event. There were too many, and I don't know, some of you may know who they were, but there were an awful lot of parents who helped with that.
Yes.
So thank you to those folks who aren't here to hear it. Furniture moving, we want to give special thanks to Susan Beezus, Michael Beezus, Mike Siebert, Randy Seibold, Bill Anderson, Mary Hannah, Shelley Smallwood, Justin Smallwood, Ethan Smallwood, Corinne Magnus, Nancy DeCobo, Victor DeCobo, Cindy Canzales, Steve Pastina, Fran Harrison, Nikki Ilka, I'm not saying this correctly, Lika, Ginger Mortellaro, Catherine Mortellaro, and John Moberly from Movie Law Furniture. It was on a late notice, and we truly appreciate it. And Jen Burley and Stephanie Kaufman, our thanks goes to them for the admissions committee. They've been doing a lot of great work.
Our admissions night was fantastic, our lottery draw, and lasted about 25 minutes from start to finish. One of the other charters, the poor woman from SCPS was there for 7.5 hours trying to get their lottery draw squared away. Like she worked an entire another day's work starting at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night and got home at like 1 in the morning or something.
Yeah, we're fortunate we use an electronic system that does it, and Dr. Harris has actually asked us a couple months ago if he could provide that. We could provide the information for the person we contract with, because I think Montessori is trying to avoid the 7 hour.
I think they're actually going to be soon mandated to use our program.
Yeah.
It's an excellent program.
I want to thank everybody that contributed to the penny war and helped with that, and I'm sure many of you all had pennies on your kitchen tables at various points in time during that. We raised over $1,700 for Relay for Life. Just to put it in perspective, Frederick High School did a penny war, I believe, or some kind of fundraiser for Relay, and they raised about 1,000 for all of Frederick High. We're actually having an assembly for 5th, 6th, and 7th grade on Friday at 2, where American Cancer Society will be here, and a student ambassador, a 12-year-old student that has that's been impacted by cancer, and will be here and we'll be presenting the check. The students will be presenting the check to them. And we're actually working on trying to live stream it to the rest of the school.
Awesome. So we should probably get the Frederick News Post to come out.
I've invited them. I've invited them.
Oh, awesome.
Right.
That's great.
So anyway, thank you all for your pennies, and I'm sure that your children love the bees out there for pennies.
I also want to thank Laura Millard for all her work with the academic committee, and also just with the spelling bee. We had a student actually get 2nd place, so that's amazing. The whole town.
Yep.
Wonderful. So great job to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Laura. And for fundraising, I just want to put it out there that so far it's around $14,000 for Race for Education.
All right.
I also want
That's
to
our
thank.
biggest fundraiser
That is
yet.
awesome. That is awesome. And I want to thank Karen Place for all her work on the facility committee. She is working tirelessly. St. John's is not the easiest landlord to work with in the world. And you are doing a remarkable job keeping up with all the emails and keeping us straight as a board about which thing we're approving to pay next. So we really appreciate
super
it.
Job. Yes, Karen.
It's outstanding, and I look forward to the day when we can move to a building that we own and we don't have a landlord. I can say that. No offense to St. John's, but that would be so much easier. All right, any other thank yous that I have missed? All right, I'm sure we have, but thank you to those people who we have missed as well. Okay.
All right.
Let's see here. So item 4 was school culture. I believe this was just a discussion item that we wanted to talk about. And this is an ongoing theme for us. And we're really thankful, another thing, for all of you who are here. And one of the items that I'm concerned about in terms of school culture is just the fact that there's a limited number of folks that are really involved in the life of the school. I estimate there's, 30, 40 families. We actually had data on this recently. It's a very small number of families that are really actively involved in helping. And so I just wanted to open it up to Eric and the board to maybe have a discussion about that issue and what initiatives, if any, we thought should be considered. We're not voting on this item, but if there's anything that we could consider doing to improve that situation.
I'm open to suggestions.
Well, I spoke with Shelley Smallwood, who's the committee chair for the volunteer committee, about, encouraging families to volunteer. And, I brought forth a kind of a volunteer, kind of a list, a log, rather. And in speaking to Shelley, she thought that it might be a little bit easier for people, rather than putting their volunteer hour in a log. Of course, explaining in the beginning of the school year with the packets at back to school night, a very detailed, letter, which I think I already wrote about, the importance of volunteering, who to contact, what the different committees are, and also the people that are in the committees to speak with their committee chair and have the committee chair kind of logging in the hours and keeping track of how often people are volunteering, what their hours are. And I think if there's some kind of a responsibility put on the people that are in the committee, it's not enough to just show up to a committee meeting. But if you're logging your hours, you're submitting them to your committee chair, it's kind of like saying, okay, this is what I did, and they're being held accountable. The committee chairs are taking an active role in making sure that their members of their committee are actually all doing something, and not just there in name only. Like I said, speaking with Shelley, and she's been doing this now for 2 years, being our volunteer coordinator, I think that just having that ability to track your hours, to be held accountable for it to your committee chair, have the committee chair take an active role in ensuring that their members are doing what they said they were going to do. That's one step in that direction.
Anybody else want to chime in on that? Okay, here. So if we don't have any more comments, obviously you all can comment on the open discussion on item 11. So we broached the subject and we can circle around and talk about that. So it's all right, we'll go to the next item, which is the parent education nights and academic events. There are a number of education nights I encourage you to encourage others to attend. I'm going to not remember the dates, I have to look at my calendar, but we have Carol Coleman.
16th, which is this Thursday, is Carol Coleman, who's the reading expert. May 21st is Kate Walsh, which is the NCTQ gal. And then sometime in May will be Dr. Karen.
Okay, so we'll have several different aspects of our school explained. So one of the things that we're trying to do is make sure that all parents in the school understand, or at least have the opportunity to understand, the intellectual background of what prompted the school to even start. And so, the reading instruction was a big part of it. Sue and I started a lot of this out of math, so we have had Dr. Severe here, but we'll have some other folks as well probably as time goes on. That our views on teacher certification and what makes for good instruction is very much informed by Dr. Kate Walsh's work. Kate Walsh was appointed by the O'Malley administration to be on the Maryland State Board of Education. So she's a really interesting person. And then Dr. Perrin has all the classical background and philosophy. So our hope is we can build capacity in our school among our parents and our staff by attending this so that everyone kind of understands. Sometimes we'll say things and people will interpret them different ways than they're intended. It's really based on the research that this school is founded on. So we're trying to have more sessions so folks can kind of dig into that research a little bit and understand why we advocate for certain things that we do. All right, anything else on that?
So just to clarify, the parent education nights, those are open more or less to the public, so if you have a
Yes.
friend that wants to come and doesn't go to the school, they're welcome to come.
Exactly. One of our missions, and we actually renewed our invitation to FCPS for this, is to spread best practices. So for instance, in scientifically based reading instruction, that's not something that's very prevalent in FCPS today. We'd love to see it, and part of our charter is encouraging other FCPS staff to come into our training sessions at no cost to them, other than what FCPS will pay them for the stipend. But we're actually paying for the consultant to come in. So the hope is that we can spread some best practices to the regular public schools as well, if they're interested. So far, they haven't been interested in attending, but hopefully at some point they will. All right. If we don't have anything else on that, number 6, charter school legislation. Lonnie's actually working literally as we speak. Last, 6 hours, no, not even that now. Last few hours of the session, the General Assembly session is going on now. We understand that the charter school bill, I believe, has not even been addressed yet, which means the bill could die, which would be a good thing in the view of the board. We sent out, and I think you have copies of our reasons why it should not move forward. One of the big concept that's an issue politically, and one of the things, if you want an explanation of why I say things that I do, I don't really care at all about people's political positions. I care about the research and what makes good policy. And I actually had a conversation with someone in the governor's office recently who was very mad at me for pointing out the fact that the bill, as revised, isn't very good. And the governor is very interested, or at one point was very interested, in having a victory by passing a less than good law, just to say that something happened. At this point, he has, I think, he's turning the other way. He actually recently favorited a tweet. The tweet was either amend the bill or veto it. Governor Hogan said that's one of his favorite tweets. So there is a chance. It's funny how social media has changed the political landscape, but that is where he apparently is leading right now, which would be a good thing from our perspective. So anyway, so that's the legislation. We'll see what happens. The best thing that would probably happen for everyone involved, so everyone could save face, is if they just run out of time and they don't get to vote on it today. And then it would die, and then we can try to skip next year with hopefully more people informed about what that legislation would look like.
Or it could be vetoed.
Or it could be vetoed. That's the
There's
other.
always possibility.
Yes. All right.
I just want to add, that was my first tweet.
Yeah, oh yeah, I asked people to tweet about this, and
I
that's
tweeted. I did not know how. I was a tweeting virgin, and I have tweeted now.
And it does take.
I can tweet, you can tweet.
Account, just.
I told Michelle it took 2 minutes.
I'll use some emergency.
20?
20 minutes, all right.
Before I actually got it to work.
I will offer tweeting lessons to anyone who would like to tweet against the governor's bill, or not, at the end of this week. All right, facility personnel update. I would not do it justice, so Karen does it mine.
You got 5 minutes.
You have 5 minutes to explain 30 emails where they won't agree to anything.
I condensed it
Yeah.
to see what others say.
You can take more than 5
And
minutes.
she deserves some kind of sainthood, because
Yes.
dealing with these people would make any normal human homicidal.
It's crazy.
No, it is.
Like, they are seriously, purposefully
This isn't that
uncooperative.
different than a lot of the construction.
No.
It's just that I'm doing it on my free time.
Yeah.
All right, the construction's complete, minus the installation of a furred-out wall, which is 8 feet high at the back of the multipurpose room. The reason we're putting that in now, long story short, we had a wall furred up like this. We decided, we took that out so that we could pay for the plywood around the wall so that things like this don't keep happening daily. After looking at it, since we have 4 overhead doors there, it was decided for the safety of the students, if they're bumping into it, we would go ahead, let's do 8 feet of the plywood on the back wall. So that still has to be done. That's supposed to be started this week. That still needs to be paid for, so make your decision and make sure that Tim is clear on whether or not to cut a check.
I thought we approved that.
It may be, but that's.
Just be very clear.
Just be very clear for
Yes,
the
yes.
I said yes unless Tim had a problem.
Kim wants to make sure we pass our audit. I don't know what's published.
That's fine. The punch list, we provided a punch list to St. John's, who's our landlord, on the 1st of April. The status of those punch list items are to be determined, although I think that might be started this week. There was a required certificate of insurance that was sent to the landlord on the 7th of this month. Final payment for the overall fit out and the one change order that was done, we added a wall to create a storage room. That was sent to them on the 8th of this month. The check for the play area netting, which is outside, was sent to Summit Construction outside of our contract with our landlord. That was sent to them on the 9th of the month. The phone and data equipment was installed by the electrical contractor who we contracted directly with. That was done on the 10th. They're still finishing up some things tomorrow, I believe. The tentative completion date or installation date for the netting, that's changed from what I sent you. More accurately, it'll be the 1st of May. That could move up once he receives information on the delivery dates. Facilities Committee and the Board of Trustees is currently discussing options for the multipurpose room flooring, which is currently concrete, essentially like this hardness-wise, only this is an 8-inch, fairly thick vinyl tile. And then also for finishes and coverings for the plywood, because they put a very rough plywood in, and so doesn't look good, and also there could be some issues with some splinters and if kids are rubbing up against them. So those are two, I guess, the big items that we're discussing and that we need to figure something out. So I don't know how, scheduling wise, once we get the space, if you're going to use it at that point or wait until we figure something out. I guess the one other thing would be the drainage grate in the play area outside, because there's fairly wide, it's for vehicular traffic, so there's fairly wide gaps. And I got a verbal from one of the people with the landlords, which was going to go with that. We'll buy a fairly inexpensive, it's not like maybe a type of a plastic drainage tile we'll put over top of that, the existing one. Otherwise, it would cost us about $2,000 to replace this out there. And as far as an actual move-in date, until they get payment for that last change order, they won't provide me with any turnover date. So, I mean, it's up to you whether or not you want to pay it before it's done or pay it afterwards, but really they're just going to kind of keep holding it until, and it.
I mean, I think we approved paying it before. We're in this bad situation where, unlike any other job I've ever seen, they're expecting payment before work starts, all of it. But that's what we have to do.
They'll accept it after, but they, hopefully they're going to let us move into that space before the netting is installed, although I think it might drag out long enough that it's going to be simultaneous. Because I'm getting information from them that they're not even going to let us move into the space if that wasn't complete, where we don't have to use that outdoor space, just let us use the inside space, but they're not willing to do that. So, it doesn't seem fair or right, but they're our landlord, they own the building, and I guess they can do what they want. So that's about it.
All right, well, thank you for hanging in there for a long process. We wanted this in summer. We wanted this before school started, and it's dragged out this long. But thank you very much for everything you're doing to move it forward. So when the space finally opens, thank Karen and get Rosemary. Just kidding. Tell us any jobs that need to speed up the process. All right, anything else we should know?
The only other thing would be a final decision from the board on what we're going to do to, I'm assuming that the direction we're going in is split the old science room so that we have the one extra classroom that's needed for adding the 8th grade next year. As it is now, the new expansion, we've added 2 more classrooms, but once we move into next year, we're adding another grade with 2 more classrooms. So it'll essentially be the same as it is right now if we don't find another classroom. We don't have the money, from what I understand, to expand further, nor do I think it would be complete on time based on the way this has been going for this fit out. So the suggestion is split we'll call it the science lab, even though it's not being used that way right now, but split the science lab. That would be 2 classrooms. We, I think, could move music back to where it was, and then I think all the classes are more or less taken care of. So there's a couple options that have been presented to the board.
So basically, we have the very large science room, which is currently Ms. Wilson's room at the end of the hallway. A decision has to be made whether or not to split that room to create 2 classrooms. By creating 2 classrooms there, I have enough classrooms to house our core content 7th and 8th grade teachers, moving music back to where Mr. Hanna's room is right now, where music was last year, allowing both Spanish teachers for next year to be housed in the current, what's being used as music room. Without adding that extra room, that actually would put all all three foreign language teachers in basically having a home base, as we would have to put all their desks and everything in the current Latin room, and all of them would have to be on carts.
And I'm expecting and hoping that if, a decision is made soon, we get pricing from the landlord with their contractors that they're dealing with. And I would expect for something small like this, there shouldn't be any reason why they need to go through the formal, lengthy permit process. They can go through the one-stop shop, which have the drawings submitted, got the permit in a day, they can get started right after. I'll make sure they know that. Whether or not they'd actually do it, I don't know. Because the permit took about 6 weeks for this other space. And they may have been able to do that for that. I don't remember the cap, what the square footage is for the one-stop shop.
So you would say that we should probably come to a decision about this science, splitting the science or not within the next week or two?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there aren't too many options for that room, but if someone can think of something else other than that, then, by all means, offer suggestions. I can do a sketch then and send it to St. John's.
Okay.
Yeah, and that commission, we're waiting on Jan Gardner to tell us on the 15th, in Delaware County, if our request for funding to expand is approved.
That's what she had said in the one email.
In the one, yeah. So just so everyone knows, we'll find out on Wednesday if we got included.
Does everyone know that the school has requested?
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, so we requested that Jan Gardner recommend in her budget as county executive to include $250,000 to expand out the remainder of the space that we're renting, but it's unfinished, so that we can actually use it. So we'll find out this Wednesday. She's signaled that she wants to put more money into nonprofits, and education is her top priority. We wrote a letter basically saying, yeah, we like that too, how about you?
We are,
Yes.
We're nonprofit and education, it's a twofer. So hopefully she'll consider doing that.
So that would be awesome.
Everyone else who asked her for money asked for like over $4.1 million. She asked for $250,000.
There's
Still time to write a letter and email it in
Yeah.
tomorrow.
You can
Still
still
time
write
to
a
write
letter.
a letter. Tommy, you sent out an email address,
Yeah.
address on there.
Yeah. And remember, they agreed, everyone in almost every elected official in the county agreed to spend $7.5 million for a private company to get subsidized for their hotel conference center. So we're asking for way less than that for our public costs. So it seemed that our case would be fairly strong. You never know.
We sent our letter in.
Yeah. Oh, you guys got it.
Yes.
All right. Guitar club and homework club.
And our guitar club guy
I know,
is
he's
right
here.
here.
So we're not approving this, right? 'Cause we
No,
already
it's
approved
actually,
it.
it already got approved,
Yeah.
because it's a.
Starts
it's
today,
It
yeah.
started today.
Yeah, you already
He
approved it.
actually has such interest that, he's, talked to me about actually having 2 days a week of
Oh,
it,
great.
because he had 8 today, he's got 8 more coming.
At least.
At least?
I have 8 more permission slips and then a lot of parents saying that.
Saying, me too, pick me.
Yeah.
So, I
Cool.
have given him the okay to expand to another day should his, interest warrant.
That's great, thank you.
He's a little like, whoa!
Yeah,
More than you
that's
bargained
true.
for.
Yeah. So,
Next year's guitar/history class.
yeah.
That would be fun.
Let's learn history while we play the guitar.
Have you played guitar during history class? That might-
Sometimes. I don't do it as much this year as last year.
that'd be cool.
But so last year, sometimes when there was no music teacher, we would go into the school song, so stuff like that.
That's awesome. Homework club, I don't know.
Well, Laura is here.
doing that.
Yeah, right now, if anyone would like to volunteer to take that over for this school year, Tosin is still interested in moving that forward for next year, and it's been approved by the board. However, she had planned for it to start sooner than it has started, and so she's not available now at this point for the rest of the year. And Sunil Conant was also involved in that, and he's had to go
charge of Clubhouse Kids. She is not at capacity for her summer camp. And I guess SCCS is kind of tapped out at this point. We don't have any more children. for it.
Actually, Avery is gonna go, but I haven't contacted her yet.
Okay, I think
Not that
she
that'll
still
tap her
has
out.
quite a few
Yeah.
spots left, so she's actually going, she asked the board permission to offer it to 2 neighborhoods in Walkersville.
Which we approved.
Which they approved. To kind of piggyback on that, we are going to have a small summer camp here at Frederick Classical. As of right now, I believe it is all older grades. It's 4th through 7th, 8th. But that information should be coming out. I'm hoping by Friday, and hoping in Thursday folders, it may be next Thursday, but for sure, information should be coming out very, very soon. I'm told it's going to be a very reasonable price as far as compared to what other camps are in the area. So it's, I think it ended up being about $100 a kid, and it's 2 weeks worth, 3 hours each day, 8:30 to 11:30, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday. I've heard that's not bad.
That's
It is.
That's good. Good year.
So that's, will be coming, there is one that is for, a rocket, project, and there'll be an additional like $15 fee to cover all the supplies for kids that go with that.
As long as it doesn't blow up the school.
It won't blow up the school, but it will be really cool, but it won't blow up the school. So,
Questions?
yeah.
In addition to the.
Who is teaching?
Well, it varies. So there's a Latin one that Ms. Roper's teaching. There's the rocket one that Ms. Elnamihi's teaching. There's an algebra one that will be by invitation for students that will be in Algebra 1 next year. It'll be a pre-algebra, a couple of concepts that they really should have before they take algebra next year. Ms. Wilson's teaching that. And I'm relatively certain Ms. Beveridge is doing an art one, but I need to confirm with her.
Right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anna, that was yours.
Okay, I'm a little.
Somebody needs
So
to.
Clubhouse Kids camp, is that what we're calling the ones that we're doing with our teachers?
No.
That
That's
is for
different.
Clubhouse Kids.
Okay.
Yeah, Amy Dunn is our before after school provider.
That's what I
She
thought,
does
but then when you
summer
start
camp.
talking about that.
Then I said, we're also doing our summer camp.
Our
Right,
FCCS
Our
camp is
FCCS
different.
Yeah.
Right. Amy Dunn's camp is
Yes.
for those
Okay.
kids to, under grade 4.
All right, we're ready for 9A, the front door issues. Michelle wanted to add? All right.
Well, Mr. Anderson is fabulous. I wish he was here this evening, but,
His wife is here?
I know, that's why I was smiling at her. He is the one that has been fixing all the holes in our walls, and he is the one who dismantled the air handler on the roof to find the dead bird, and he is the one who adjusted the front door so it would latch properly, so we didn't have to pay for security like $800 to just show up and look at it and then go, we feel vulnerable. And so he is just fantastic, and we thank Mrs. Anderson for sharing him with us.
Good. All right, so number 10 is board comments. 10 minutes. Do you have board comments? Sue has board comments.
Sue has board comments, yes. Okay. Am I the only one?
I might have some.
Okay.
Yours is written out.
Mine's a little longer. Okay. While I was in the counselor's office several months ago, a poster on the wall caught my attention. It stated, "Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind?" I thought, wow, what a great poster to place in every classroom in our school. After the events of a couple of weeks ago regarding volunteer concerns, dog bites, and head of school criticisms, I thought, wow, what a great poster to send home to our parents. As a parent volunteer myself, I saw firsthand how frustration turns to criticism, criticism turns to anger, anger turns into gossip, and gossip into hatred. I want to remind our parents, when you feel frustration turning into criticism, anger, gossip, and hatred, to stop for a minute. If you cannot make a situation better, just remove yourself from it. If that means not volunteering for a while, then so be it. When volunteerism is done with a negative spirit, we just don't need to spread that. Some good people were criticized and made to feel rather uncomfortable at their own child's school a couple of weeks ago by other families who volunteer here. Our dedicated, hardworking head of school was unfairly and heavily criticized by some of our parents on social media. I cannot sit by and allow this to happen, and I won't. Private conversations between people should be just that, private. Bashing individuals in a way that others see, hear, or experience is directly out of line with the true, the good, and the beautiful. And that's what Frederick Classical was designed to teach. The true, the good, and the beautiful. Not the false, the bad, and the ugly. Please think about this because parents are the first and most influential teachers in our children's lives. Do not teach them the false, the bad, and the ugly. Remember before you speak, is it true, is it helpful, is it inspiring, is it necessary, and is it kind? Thank you.
That's great, Sue. I have nothing to say after that. That's exactly what I was going to say, but far less well said than you
Thank
said.
you.
So, thank you. All right, any other board members? Comments? All right, open discussion. We have 20 minutes of open discussion. Yep.
Can Sue post that on the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Because the people that probably are responsible
I
for
know,
that
and
are
as
not
I'm
here,
saying
so
this,
we'll
I'm
play
looking at
them.
you guys and I'm like, damn, you guys aren't even the ones I'm saying this. But I wanted to say it with my emphasis and enthusiasm and emotion. But I will post it on our account, Facebook account. I don't think there's anything in there that's derogatory. So, yeah.
Very good. All right, any other open discussion?
No, I would just second, thank you for saying that. You know, when people are not willing to talk directly to you about what their concern is, that, you know, it turns into something ugly. So,
It was a difficult week when all that stuff was going on, and there was just a lot of undue emotion and anger and frustration, and you know, we all work way too hard doing our jobs, and then to come in to volunteer and to want to volunteer, and in some cases people being told not to volunteer that came to help out. It got really out of hand, and I normally my knee-jerk reaction is to lash out and kind of go nuts, but I cooled off and thought
Thank you,
about it.
Mr. Kenny.
No problem.
And that's why I wanted to just write something that was cooled off, thought about it, and try to make it as positive and helpful as possible. So I have no problem posting it on Facebook, and I can keep a copy of this with the minutes as well, and I can send them to Andrea if Andrea would like to post them along with the minutes to this meeting. So
Can you put a synopsis as to what exactly happened for those who are not on Facebook?
I can do that. There were some issues going on as far as, well, I'll go back to people that volunteer, especially doing morning and afternoon car line, and just volunteering in general. I got information that there was just a general feeling of not feeling appreciated. Our volunteers do put in a lot of time. There have been issues where people in car line have been, you know, rude or obnoxious to some of our family members that have been helping volunteer. Now, I do car line every other week in the afternoon, and I have last year and this year. I've really only seen a rude parent one time. Not to say it hasn't happened more than once, but I've only experienced it once. But it does happen occasionally. It's been brought to Erica's attention. Erica has handled it. Erica sent an email out addressing such a situation, assuring the community that she does handle it, she will handle it. She can't go into the details of how it's being handled as per the policy of FCPS, but it had been brought to her attention. Then there was an incident where I was helping children get into a car, and the dog that was in the car, I heard someone say the dog's going to get out, so I put my hand in to keep the dog in the car, and he nipped at my jacket. Did not bite my skin, but nipped at my coat. So I was shocked, and you know, I was kind of taken back, and I made a comment to the driver that, you know, the dog almost bit me, this isn't a good situation, this isn't safe. So a couple of the other volunteers that day said what happened, because they saw me talking. I explained what happened. I was a little shook up, but I was like, you know, whatever. The driver of the car spoke with Erica. I spoke with Erica. She got the whole rundown of what happened. It was discussed. I've since spoken with the family. They're very nice people. I'm fine with it, not having any issue with the people. They volunteer. They're good people. Okay, it was an accident, and you know, Erica addressed it, and the dog doesn't come into car line, so it was addressed. But apparently that was enough to send people on a rampage about abuse of Carline, helpers, and how Mrs. Cummins is not doing enough and she doesn't care about us, blah, blah, blah. It was completely ridiculous. And like I said, I tried very hard to stay out of it at that point and let it cool off and let it just kind of blow over. But without, wanting to forget about it, because some very hateful and hurtful things were said against Mrs. Cummins, against the people in Carline. And I was the one who was, in the line of fire.
Almost by teeth.
The almost by teeth. So I just wanted to make sure that the people involved hear what I have to say, and they're not here tonight. But they will see the board comment and can read it when Andrea posts the minutes as well. So, it's just a learning experience, and I think we all need to be reminded what we teach our kids is the virtues and the true, the good, the beautiful, and I think what we teach our parents should be the virtues and the true, the good, and the beautiful, and forgiveness and understanding and patience. So, that's all I have to say.
Maybe we need to do something to help the volunteers feel appreciated as well. On the other side of that, I agree with you, but we need to
Next
look at
week's
something.
volunteer.
Volunteer appreciation?
National Public School
Volunteer week.
Appreciation Week or something like that.
That'll be an
And I did make
opportunity.
a trifold volunteer, I don't know if you saw it, but it's like a volunteer trifold, stands about 4 or 5 feet tall, and I was gonna bring it out into the hallway, and it's got all the names of our volunteers posted on there. They're all on there, everybody in the room is, I think, on that thing. If you're not there, tell me, we'll add it. Just to say, our volunteers are superstars, and then all of our volunteers have their names up there, and then we'll follow up with a luncheon. And I'm not saying not to minimize their feelings
Right.
of not feeling appreciated.
Right, maybe just in terms of how we operate things makes, if there's something
But we certainly
can
don't need to go crazy on
Can't
our
solve
head
it
of
tonight.
school and on each other because we don't feel appreciated.
Who else have any?
I had a question about the Clubhouse kids in the summer camp. So did they agree to absorb if they're going to participate in one of your camps, that they can go to Clubhouse kids for the other part of the day?
I need to talk to Amy about that.
Okay.
But as long as they would be Clubhouse kid anyway, and the parent does the forms and all that kind of stuff, I don't foresee that being a problem, especially since it's only that 2-week period. It's not like it would be inconveniencing her schedule all summer. So, but I'm actually going to make myself a note to make sure I talk to her this week.
I appreciate all the parent education nights that are coming up, but I think that we need to have one just on our charter, what it means, delving into what our charter is. I think that type of education will be really valuable to our parent population.
Let's do it in, we have one in May already, right? So we could do it in, what date in May is the current one?
That's the PT, yeah. May
What's that?
21st, that's the
We
quality.
could do it in early June.
So something else that the
I
academic
can do
committee
that.
is looking at is doing a book club.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start off with, instead of a book, it would be the pamphlet that is actually on our website.
Right.
It's also coming home in report card envelopes, one to each family. It's the classical education guide for parents that Dr. Karen wrote. It's good, and it's not super long and tedious or anything to read.
To your point, I agree with you. I think we need to do that. I would like to do one in June, early June, look at a date.
Do another one at the beginning of next school year.
Hey, yeah, I did them for years and then we
That
got
could be an
busy with-
annual thing.
Well, I'd like to even do it every couple months. I mean, definitely as we approach admissions, so folks kind of know what they're getting into. And then, just the last few years, the startup activities, we had Larry Kaiser come and do one on classical education, I think, which was general. And then I think I should probably prepare something that would help the board that's specific to our charter. And going through all the things, I mean, a lot of things we're advocating for are directly in our charter, or the research that supports our school. It's coming out of the blue for people, so they're taking it the wrong way. But it really is things that were researched for, literally in my case, for over a decade before the application went in. There is a rationale, there's a method to the madness, and in the things we're advocating for, I promise.
It
So
might
by
make
June, I'll
sense-
put that together.
It might make sense to annually try to align that with your annual report you do, since you're already
Right.
looking at, comparing how we're doing to what we've said we would do in the charter, so.
Yeah,
As
we
a
were
way
just
of
talking with
presenting
Erica
it.
about the checklist that you had created, and how we're gonna use that as a tool, to monitor what's going on. So, yeah, we could bring all those things together, I think. I agree.
Before I forget, a lot of you here have middle schoolers. I just wanted to remind you that the date of the middle school info sessions changed, unfortunately due to another meeting that was scheduled for me pretty much the same time. I was like, I don't think that's gonna work. So instead of the 22nd, it's been moved to the following Wednesday, the 29th. I just want to make sure so that you guys, and that's gonna cover, courses. It may not be, exactly as far as our music program, because that's going to be greatly determined by who we're allowed to hire for that position, but it will talk about credits for next year, elective selection, course recommendation, when those forms are going to be done, when will be due, all that stuff.
What time?
7 o'clock.
All right, any other open discussion before I wait for the hands? I do want to say, if folks are interested, there's no reason why we couldn't run over to the new space and give folks a preview, because we do have the key, anyone wants to see it.
We do.
So, if you want to see it afterwards.
Anybody want to see the new
So any open, yes, line?
I just wanted to circle back to the volunteer question. I would like to know, as a parent who really can't volunteer in the morning and after school, if there is a way that I could facilitate a just, not, how do you say it, recognition of the volunteers from our behalf. So if you have some ideas, and they can be introduced offline, but Brian and I are always trying to figure out ways that we can compensate folks for doing the many things that we sometimes can't reach.
Okay, great, we'll take you up on that.
I always wanted to bring donuts and cocoa for the freezing people outside, but then I thought, what if they're on a diet, or they're eating sugar, you know what I mean? So, but if you ever saw someone and you just wanted to get something for them, but not make a big deal, but you just wanted there to be a pathway that's established, and you could just, it could be anonymous even, but you just want to give them something.
We throw apples out the side.
If they hit them in the head, it would be liability.
Right.
You know, but I mean, is there a way to do that? Because they're shivering, they're freezing, they're getting my children out of the car.
The people used to do for me, and I meant to do it, I never did because I didn't make the store, but the hand warmers that you can get, like when you go out, like hunt, you use them for hunting.
For the season.
But or just, other things, but like you can get those, and those are really nice because they last long, and you can put them in your
But
pocket.
could it go through Shelley? Like if somebody just wanted to make
Those
a
would be lovely.
volunteer, could we just go through Shelley and say, can you just,
Well, no, I'm not telling
go and get
you.
this? And you wouldn't even have to put your name on it, but then they would feel like, oh, somebody was appreciating.
I got just a card once in my mailbox here at the school that just said, Dear Sue, thank you. I don't even remember who it was from, just a little something. I mean, just random cards to people, like,
Right.
notes. But
Yeah, I don't know their names though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not that, I don't remember, so.
Code
that-
number 5.
Yeah, you could give us together.
that's good. Maybe Shelley has some ideas.
All right, yeah, maybe I'll talk to them. But yeah.
Okay. Handing a hot chocolate through the car window.
Two comments on the volunteerism. One is, I don't think that you've sufficiently explained to parents why it matters that they log their hours. I just think a lot of people volunteer and you don't know, but I have never put an hour in any system here. Neither has anyone.
I haven't either.
And you come to every
Yeah.
community meeting.
But we do the academic committee, the
Yeah.
communications committee, the curriculum, and but I don't think you've made the case as to why it matters. I'm here because I want to be here. I'm not here to get credit. I'm not here because there's an hour requirement, like tuition you pay if you don't have volunteer. So I don't think you've made the case that some people don't want credit. They just want to be there. They just want to show up and help for an hour and leave. So I don't think that case has been made adequately to make. I think there are people who have helped, who haven't put, and so they're getting scolded, but maybe they shouldn't.
Do you think that it's been clear? I'm thinking maybe not. that all of that stuff counts. You know,
I think
the
you
coming
have to make
to
the
the
case
community
that state
meetings.
matters. It matters to the state of Maryland, or it's effective. Like, I know we were in a Title I school, so all volunteer hours were extremely important to them to keep that Title I money. So they had, there would be handwrote every time you went in, and they really made a point of, we need this because. So I don't think you made that clear to people, the connection. And secondly, just an idea, to get more people involved, if perhaps you had an event or an activity each year assigned to a grade. So we say, for example, there's going to be a sock hop, and the third grade families are going to help that. You might get 10 families out of 40, but that's more than you get if you said, can I have some volunteers for a sock hop? So if you assign them, and all the kindergarten parents knew that there's going to be, one event this year that's our event, and the kindergarten parents are going to pitch in for this, then they'd feel like we did our job, we participated. So I think it might be worth trying. So we're going to like ask the third grade families to do this, the fourth grade families to do this, the fifth grade families. And I think out of the 40, you'd probably get more than you would if you just kind of threw it out there and said, we need volunteers.
And you could break it down into actual assignments or for people that are working and items that are needed from the Sign Up Genius.
Sign Up Genius is very helpful.
Because that's something, and Michelle can back that up.
Because you can think about
Well, with the Montessori school, they would do the Sign Up Genius a lot. They also made you feel like it was an absolute requirement to do volunteer hours, where, really nothing could happen if you didn't. But I don't feel that way at all here. But you kept hearing it all the time at the Montessori.
Do you know Jimmy with the bat? Can we get Jimmy?
Jimmy
It'll
with
make
the bat.
people feel like. Lucky.
From a liability